Hello, everybody. Today we are back with everything, and we suffered a big drop. But it wasn't that big. But it was still big. Larger than expected, right? Okay, where did we leave off yesterday? I don't remember where we left off yesterday. Am I blind? I have to go to a 4-hour chart just to figure out. Okay, so we were already below 80,000 yesterday. That I remember, right? We broke through the downtrends, and I was wondering where we would head next. I said for sure we're not going to go above 80,000 because of the resistance. Right now we're using that previous support as a new resistance. So that's there. I wonder my music seems so loud. From here, I was hoping we were able to maintain this uptrend, which it kind of broke that just a little bit, right? We had that same deal with this previous uptrend where it was kind of broken like that. We have the same kind of deal like this over here. Okay, I was busy, Bradley. Relax. It's fine, though. So, micro adjustments do have to be made over here. First of all, in the downtrend. Second of all, likely in this uptrend, although I'm just going to keep this here for now. Because it all really depends on what's going to happen next. Seems like we are going to stay within this range around. That's our new range, 76,500 to 80,000. We did break 80,000 today twice, actually. And it was based off upon some fake news, actually. We had fake news, and it made the markets pump. Overall today, though, it wasn't as bad as it seems. Sure, we did have lots of drops. Last night, we saw the Asian markets open at a severe loss, very low points, especially China, and it was mainly Japan. Taiwan markets also dropped a lot, significantly. They even had to suspend trading in some of them, right? We know the circuit breaker was triggered in Japan's stock exchange, the Nikkei 225. So, yeah, that was interesting to see, right? It's not something that happens all the time. This indeed brought a lot of volatility. Everybody was panicking on how the US market was going to open, right? Which opens at 9:30. Around midnight, 2:30, we saw another drop, right? Which would have been this candle right over here. That would have been Europe. Europe Stock Exchange opening, all European markets, Spain, France, Germany, England, right? All of them very negative. And that happened around midnight. That's why we also saw a continuation of the drop for Bitcoin, and we reached a new low. This is lower than our previous low right over here. Would you even call it like, I don't think this is a relevant line anymore. So I will delete it. And instead I'll just use a support level. Like that. Because it coincides with the support number 2 that we have over here. That's why I'm mentioning we're going to stay within the range of roughly 81,000 to 76,500 approximately. Hoping that we do maintain this support at least, right? We'll see. For now, we're holding fine, and everybody was speculating, okay, what is going to happen once the US market opens? Well, this is the 9 o'clock hour. We actually dipped to a low first of 75,700. We were about to break this little uptrend that we had over here. Big uptrend, actually. This is the uptrend that comes from August 5 and September 6 of last year. So it's important, right? We dropped that low first. 2% drop. And then, around 10 a.m., we got some news that made Bitcoin spike all the way up. Not just Bitcoin, but almost every coin and stock, I mean, every other index had a large pump because of this fake news. Bitcoin reached 81,000, almost 200, right? Pretty large increase in price just suddenly, and everybody thought we are so back, right? Even FOMO kicked in a little bit for some, right? This obviously liquidated a lot of shorts, big short squeeze, right? That was important. And from there, we kind of relaxed a little bit after realizing, oh, it was just fake news. So we're just going to go back to where we started, 77,000. And from there, we've been slowly trickling upwards and upwards, right? So that's the volatility that we saw. Big volatility over here, reaching a low of 75,000 to a high of 81,000. That's $6,000 volatility difference in Bitcoin in just 2 hours. Basically, that was in the 1 hour chart I showed. 2 hours, you have that much volatility, significant volatility coming from the US market there. It all has to do with Trump tariffs, right? Everybody was scared of, oh, this is going to be like Black Monday, right? And that's why I've included in the title, Inverse Cramer hits again. I'll go more into that in more detail later. Basically, Jim Cramer, who we all know we should do the opposite of, he predicted a 20% drop from last night all the way downward. It only dropped another 5%. We're looking at Bitcoin's case. Maybe some indices did drop a little bit more. I know they did. Like, a lot of indices dropped overall. But ultimately, most, if not all, have recovered their way back up. And some even ended up in the green. Which just, once again, proves inverse Cramer is always correct. Right? Not Cramer, but inverse. Inverse Cramer. All right. So we're looking really solid right now for Bitcoin. 80,000 seems like it's likely to break out of, right? We've broken through 80,000, although a couple rejection right there. But it seems like we could get enough strength to push it forward because we don't have any downward pressure, it seems like, right? I'm hoping not. Now, I think I will adjust this line, by the way. If I could find it, first of all. So it's very far away from here. Like I said, September 6th. You could just readjust this, right? Let me get that exact point right there. And I just want to go back over here and see. That still looks like a valid uptrend. Would you agree with me there? This is probably the one that's going to maintain during the bull run. And I'm hoping it does. Because I don't think we could afford to lose that line there. All right. So, highest point that we could reach, it's looking like we're still within this downtrend, right? So I wouldn't look past 84,000. That's the first pivot we have right over here. If we do break out of 80,000, you could look for a nice little almost 5% pump to 84,000. Could be happening within the upcoming days. Who knows? We could be getting a bit of volatility depending on what the country's response to the tariffs are. Currently, the price of Bitcoin, 0.90% up, 79,200. Pretty good, pretty good. Ethereum made an even lower low. It was a bit spooky. 1,410 was where it tapped the lowest point. We've recovered our way back up. During that 10 a.m. volatility, we reached 1,600. We're currently at 1,500. I'm starting to see a bit more volatility on Ethereum. So yeah, it does depend on the next 2 days, Southwest. China maintains its retaliatory tariff. Trump said he would drop another 50% tariff on China April 9. That is correct. I do agree that there could still be some downward pressure, and it would all depend on what China does, because they have mentioned that they will not be... I have it over here. One sec. So yeah, that's indeed the news that you mentioned, right? Trump says if China does not withdraw their 34% tariff by April 8, US will impose additional 50% on tariff on China by April 9. So he's giving them by tomorrow to do something. Here's what I think China's response is going to be, is that they will not bow down to President Trump's tariff threats. Trump also, I think he doesn't even want to negotiate with them until they resolve this whole deficit. That's also part of the things that he said. And also, they are planning to cut their interest rates, China, and boost government spending to stabilize the economy and to counter Trump's tariffs. Also, a bit of news here that, you know, could be China trying to be self-reliant over here. I also heard news about China will be restricting exports of their rare earth minerals because they know that that is something that Donald Trump really wants, is the rare earth minerals. Likely they will not be exporting it to any country so that only China can hoard it. Maybe that'll increase the prices of rare earth minerals. And also so that, you know, if China exports it to another country, the United States could just buy it from that other country. It's just going to be a whole maze, right, of where these rare earth minerals are going to go to try to prevent it from going in the hands of the United States president. Because we know how much he wants rare earth minerals. He's also been pressuring Ukraine to give it to him and all that, but they haven't been able to reach peace deal yet for Ukraine-Russia. So that's what we have so far. And this is just funny. China embassy in the United States, they just tag President Trump on X with no context. That's the whole tweet, like at real Donald Trump. That's it. Like what? Why? That's pretty funny. We wonder what that means. Cool. What else we got? Solana also had a big drop. 95 was its lowest. I do feel like there is still down pressure though. Like the chances of it rising, we would have to get some big fundamental news to see this kind of a pump. I don't think that's going to happen. We could see ourselves within a range is what most likely is going to happen in my opinion. Like I said, we could stay within over here for a couple of days based off of the uncertainty that we have. A high volatility index as well. Right? And would just waiting, I guess, for what countries' responses are. We are getting some economic data this week as well to help us determine things with rate cuts. That's also another big issue that is going on right now. Today, this also sparked a little bit of optimism early on in the day, around 8, 9 a.m. The Fed was apparently going to be holding a closed board meeting today, April 7. At 11:30 was when the meeting was. So, you know, they had their emergency meeting, probably for emergency rate cuts, is what a lot of people are speculating. Like, they're seeing the market drop. They're the ones in charge of balancing the economy, and they can't have the economy drop like this, right? Even Trump has been pressuring Jerome Powell to, you know, cut the rates. Maybe Jerome Powell is kind of being a little bit anti-Trump over here by not cutting rates, saying, oh, you know, we're fine, the economy is fine. Just to kind of make Trump look bad, right? Like, see, guys, Trump is crashing the economy. He's a bad president. I don't know. Maybe that's something that he's trying to do. Maybe that's not. It's all speculation. But Trump has still called him out on it, right? Like he said, you know, stop playing politics, right? Like, cut the rates. Inflation is low. Everything is fine, right? But, you know, I think Powell still kind of wants to play it safe. He still thinks that tariffs will rise the inflation rates. So I'm thinking he just wants to wait and see the data that comes out eventually, right? What data are we getting? We're getting on Wednesday, FOMC minutes at 2 p.m. We're getting core inflation, right? The inflation rate that's coming on Thursday, 8:30. And Friday, we're getting price, what is this? PPI. Producer price index. That's what it is. Okay, producer price index. All of these are to measure inflation, right? We're expecting a bit of a rise for producer price index, and inflation rate. We're expecting inflation rate to stay the same at 0.2% month over month, right? Year over year, it's expected to drop actually. Okay. Well, we'll see what comes out by then. Also on Polymarket, we're seeing the chances of the Fed having an emergency rate cut in 2025 rise like crazy on Polymarket here. It's a 32% chance that they're expecting there will be an emergency rate cut. I think it kind of coincides with the Fed watch that we have, the percentages here. But this is a percentage for in the next meeting that's coming up in May, 1 month from now. If we're going to be getting a rate cut by then, it's actually still a 70% chance that we're not, right? I think these numbers have changed before, but yeah. 30% chance that we do get a rate cut though, that could still be happening. So we'll see. We'll see. Great. So this whole rumor, why did we pump at 10 a.m.? This is what happened. The market started off red. Everything started off red. Indices were down. US market opened very, very down as well, until an unattributed rumor was started on X that there was a consideration of a 90-day tariff pause. That's pretty good, right? The market turned green. 5 minutes later, the White House then denied the rumor, and the market became red again immediately after that. So that explains this volatility that we had. This was the statement from the White House. As per CNBC, they said that no one at the White House is aware of Trump considering a tariff pause, so it appears that the reports were greatly exaggerated. I don't know what's going on. It seems like a lot of market manipulation here, especially in regulated markets, something you don't see very often. So basically, guy reports fake news. All of world finance aped the news and added $2.5 trillion to the market. Apparently, the news was fake, so everybody dumped. Finance is basically just meme coins with suits, is what they're saying. Yeah, that's pretty funny. Here's some statements by Trump about what's going on so far, why he's doing this. Of course, we know he says that the United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. I've always mentioned this, that Trump has always been planning to do, implement tariffs, and also, standing up for America being taken advantage of by other countries years ago, right? Like Japan, China, a bunch of other countries. So he says, don't be weak, don't be stupid, don't be a panickin. It's a new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will be the result. So we know that, the medicine analogy that he gave yesterday, right? It's something that's necessary to heal the United States economy. It's going to suck short term, but long term, we know it'll be good overall. So we just got to be patient. Markets are a game of patience here. Trump says that he also spoke with Japan's prime minister this morning. He's sending a top team to negotiate. Countries from all over the world are talking to us, he says. He said that in a Truth Social post. And overall, we have ended up the day in the green, kind of, for Bitcoin and some other indices as well. Like very, very slightly green, or not too much of a drop is what the indices are, right? The good thing is that we did not have a Black Monday, as many predicted. They were on the right path, but things turned around over here. European Union offered the United States 0 for 0 tariffs on industrial goods. They were also proposing other stuff like a 25% counter tariff on a range of U.S. imports in response to U.S. steel duties, according to a document. And the tariffs expected to take effect on May 16. I even heard that this this counter tariff measure was going to be pushed back another 15 days to like the end of the month of May. I don't know. I think it keeps getting pushed back, whatever that is. So that was announced by Ursula von der Leyen, the European Commission president, talking about the 0 for 0 tariff deal with the United States is likely what they're going to do. They would have to keep the alliance with the United States. The European Union actually does rely on the United States. Just look at Ukraine, for example. Could the European Union or NATO have defended Ukraine from Russia without the help of the United States? I really don't think so. United States gave them a ton of money. Although a lot of it is possible corruption and all that kind of stuff, they were still giving them military spending and, gave Ukraine a bit of an upper hand here. It was all those countries against the big Russia, right? So, they need the United States help, and they've been treating the United States very unfairly with all those tariffs. So I think they're starting to understand that and trying to play it a bit safe over here. This caused the market to quickly reverse, wiping out losses and moving rapidly into positive territory. So here we have the Dow Jones moving positive, NASDAQ and S&P 500 as well. Presumably on the news that the European Union is willing to negotiate 0 for 0 tariffs with the United States. They take out the tariffs if the United States take out the tariffs. That's something that Canada has also proposed, but I don't know. On Liberation Day, Canada was not mentioned by Donald Trump, so we don't know what the situation with US and Canada and Mexico is like right now. The main thing right now is this whole China situation, as mentioned. Here's the inverse Cramer. Jim Cramer called for a Black Monday. NASDAQ finished in positive 0.01% today. There you go. It just works every time. Benjamin Netanyahu visited the United States today, spoke with Donald Trump in terms of the tariffs. At the beginning of this little press conference, Netanyahu mentioned for Israel that they will be removing all tariffs on the United States to resolve their deficit, right? So he's bending the knee, I guess, to the United States here. But when Trump was asked directly to his face, right, like to Netanyahu's face, will the United States be taking away the tariffs as well, like the zero for zero tariffs? He said that he wouldn't. He wouldn't take away he wouldn't reduce the tariffs on Israel because the U.S. already gives them billions of dollars, is what he says. Which he also said, like, "Hey, congratulations! That's a lot of money you're getting from us, by the way." They also talked about the situation in the Middle East. I have it written down here. Trump will be meeting with Iran on Saturday, apparently, to discuss. I don't know what they're going to discuss. Possibly de-escalation of whatever's happening to Yemen as well. Also, releases of hostages. They're probably going to be trying a new ceasefire deal with Hamas and all that kind of stuff that's going on in Israel. So that's the update there in the Middle East. So far, tariffs are kind of working, if you'll notice. The trade partners zeroing tariffs is the first start. This says the Trump trade advisor Navarro. Trump is seeking to cut both tariffs and non-tariff barriers, and the market will find a bottom. I think that maybe the bottom is in. I'm hoping so. It depends. Depends if China just continues to escalate this trade war. I don't even think that the United States should be. I mean, I don't think that Bitcoin should be affected by what goes on between the United States and China because Bitcoin, there's no tariffs on Bitcoin kind of deal, right? Bitcoin should be something somewhat of a reserve asset, I think is what we would call it, against these other tariffs, right? Like these other currencies, right? You're devaluing the US dollar, you're devaluing the Chinese yuan. So it would really depend. Just gotta wait and see. But ultimately, Bitcoin's price is similar still to things like the S&P 500, basically Wall Street. Why? Because I would blame institutional investors at this point. Sure, they bring volume and a lot of money into the markets. That's good and all, but you get their same kind of response to other news reflected on Bitcoin as well because they have so much monetary influence on the price now. They've got a lot of volume in here. You import the Wall Street, you become the Wall Street, I guess is what the best thing I could describe this as. There you go. Get out. Michael Saylor, if you guys are sad for your bags, everybody is sad for their bags. Strategy reported an unrealized loss of $5.91 billion in its digital assets for the quarter ending March 31st. Oh, that was actually March 31st. I thought they meant today. Apparently, though, they're at an unrealized loss right now. Their average price, I think it's still a bit lower than this, though, because they did make another purchase. Not recently though. There has been no recent purchase from MicroStrategy. But I mean, if Michael Saylor is able to, I'm pretty sure he would snatch some Bitcoin below 80,000. That's pretty good buy. A lot of whales gotten liquidated as well. When Bitcoin dropped below 75,000, there was a whale liquidated for 996 Bitcoins, which is $1.54 million. That happened at 2 a.m. when the European market opened. In less than 50 days, this whale has been liquidated 4 times, totaling $19.58 million liquidated. Yeah, so don't worry. We're not the only ones. Me personally, I did not get liquidated on this drop. I played it very safe. I am still at a very large unrealized loss, but I still managed to get some good buys in there too. So, it's not fully over for me. I also don't feel sad because, even the most conservative investors, they couldn't even play it safe, except for one exception over here, the guy in green, Warren Buffett. The world's 500 richest people, they all, in total, lost $500 billion this week, which is the largest ever recorded by Bloomberg. The only one who made money was Warren Buffett. He made such a goated play. He sold, I think it was earlier in January this year, or last year, December, a lot of his Apple stock, a lot of Bank of America stock, and he bought safer assets, right? And also a lot of bonds. This guy has $300 billion in cash right now, his Berkshire Hathaway index. Yeah, I mean, There's still no confirmation of whether or not he bought the dips right now, because that's something that he would do. You would buy when there's blood on the streets. There's this meme that's like, there's blood on the streets. That means you're buying now, right? Right? And he's just looking at you with a serious expression. But yeah, no, we haven't heard anything yet if Warren Buffett has actually made any purchases. I think he's got a time frame where he's able to announce any purchases that he makes in the stock market and what those purchases are. Not that I've heard of, at least. CZ is making moves in Pakistan, actually. So this is the Binance co-founder, CZ. He joins Pakistan's Crypto Council as their strategic advisor. Good choice. That guy knows a lot, especially about money laundering. South Korea's National Pension Service, NPS, plans to explore blockchain technology to enhance transparency and security in financial transactions. That'll be pretty cool. And I'm hoping that's something that we also get in the United States. It was kind of talked about, even alluded to, by Elon Musk at one point. By the way, I haven't seen Elon Musk posting a lot recently. Yeah, sure, like putting the government spending, for example, on blockchain where it's transparent for everybody to see, so we can all see, where is our taxpayer money going to. That's a very interesting concept. The power of blockchain can make that happen. So it's exciting to see, maybe South Korea is the first to do this. That'll be cool to see how they do it. We also had other ways of using blockchain, like the United Arab Emirates trying to use blockchain for, real estate as well. That's interesting ways as well. So yeah, things we got to pay attention to there. This dip over here, we were also hoping, if not Warren Buffett or Michael Saylor, at least Ryan Cohen, CEO of GameStop, to buy Bitcoin at least, because that was already confirmed, announced, right? GameStop will be buying Bitcoin. That is a fact, right? They even raised 1.48, I think, billion dollars to buy it. They have $6 billion in cash. It's a good chance to buy Bitcoin under 80,000. Oh my gosh, we're about to break 80,000 right now. 79,930. Cool. I don't know. We'll see. Also, I don't have funds in here because I did need those funds to buy this dip. It's okay. I put the funds to good use. Don't worry. I'll get the trading bot back up as soon as I can. I am making a little adjustments to my programmed robot that I have. So, while I'm, taking advantage of the fact that I don't have any funds in the perpetual futures account, I'm making the adjustments to the bot. I still gotta obviously test it and everything before I go live with it again. Just gonna take a moment. Been focusing a lot on programming recently. Yeah, that's all. What else we got? Hyperliquid 50x whale is back. Is it the same guy? I think so. I think I might have it still. Hyperscan. I have his address saved. That's crazy. Let's see. Your holdings, what do you got? Oh no, nothing here. USDC, launch, fly, catball. Catball, what is that? And hyper token. Yeah, so no, this guy has no holding. So this is a different whale, I'm assuming. 39921. Yeah, that's a different whale. This is a different address. Why are you lying? But anyway, a big play done over here. Ethereum, 20x leverage, $47 million position. That is a lot. And also, really good entry. Suspiciously good entry. 1,400. 1,410 was our lowest. And you entered where? Open price. People are thinking, is this Baron Trump? That's pretty funny. 1461.61. I want to draw this one out. I'm just curious to see how it looks. What did I say? I already forgot. 146161. Easy. 146161. Why? It's because I have my magnet on or something? Or I probably have to refresh my page. I don't know. It's usually the case of refreshing page. Let me redraw. Obviously a long position here. 146161. Okay. 461. I can't put a decimal. Oh, there's decimals here. 46161. There we go. Yeah. Okay, that's where his position is. Don't know where his take profit or stop loss. I don't think there's no take profit on here. He's at he's a negative P&L. No, but it's definitely positive by now. So this guy's making a couple $100,000. If he's got 20x by here, 146161, divide that by 20. So every $73 is one of the X's that he has. So if this dropped $73, he would have been liquidated. 1388 is his liquidation price. 1388. Wow, that is dangerously close. Why won't you let me type? Yeah, sure, I'm just leaving it there. That is dangerously close. Look at that. And he's putting millions of dollars in here. How do people... I don't understand. God play, though. Look at that. Oh my gosh. If this recovers, like, even to 1,800, not even, like, 2,000, this guy's making a lot of money. Crazy trades. Oh my gosh. What do these people know? Alright. Speaking of Ethereum. Today you can buy Ethereum at the same price people were willing to pay for it back in 2017. That's how bad the drop is right now. I also want to show you the chart of Bitcoin versus Ethereum. ETH BTC, I think. I think it's ETH BTC, right? Yes, it is. It just keeps on dropping, right? The price of Ethereum versus the price of Bitcoin, it's just going all the way down. Like, this is in Satoshis, right? 0.01, almost 0.02 Satoshis of a Bitcoin, cents of a Bitcoin, if that makes more sense, is what one Ethereum is worth. Like, that is just super low. It's just not even, yeah. It's going through a rough time right now, Ethereum. And I also hate to see it here. I had to reinforce a lot of my Ethereum positions to avoid any possible liquidations. I like the stop loss, though. So back then, Ethereum was nothing more than an ICO platform. It was barely scalable, barely secure. It was just a dream. And today, after 8 years of progress, with market uncertainty at its peak and Ethereum going through its own identity crisis, you can still buy Ethereum at the same levels as it was in 2017. We have ETFs on Ethereum as well. Oh, it's going to go through a recap over here, right? Of the progress that Ethereum went through. The merge, transitioning to proof of stake, layer 2 boom. A lot of ecosystems came out of it, like Base from Coinbase, Arbitrum, Optimism. Lots of total value locked in there. Tens of billions of dollars. Fee burning mechanism, DeFi revolution, NFTs, institutional adoption, developer growth. Ethereum virtual machine developer ecosystem grew from 2,000 in 2018 to over 20,000 today. It just keeps, the growth is there, right? We're just not seeing it reflected on the price, meaning that Ethereum is super undervalued. Even if it often gets taken for granted, even if the behavior of Ethereum Foundation can be criticized, what Vitalik Buterin is doing, the amount of real progress in Ethereum land over the last decade is remarkable. The fact that you can still buy Ethereum at 2017 levels, it's either the market's greatest joke or its greatest opportunity. One thing is clear, back then Ethereum was a fragile smart contract platform for ICOs. You know, Ethereum was just another altcoin by then. Now, even still now, right now, it's the second largest one, and it's held that position even with all the weakness that it's been showing. It also just goes to show you the state of altcoins in general right now. Today is the world's leading decentralized settlement layer, and nothing will change about that. So yeah, Ethereum at these levels is criminal. 1,400. It's recovering pretty neatly. And speaking of Bitcoins, it's got a great risk-reward bet right now. Can't tell you what will happen today, this week, or indeed this month. Can't predict Trump's next move. Anyone who thinks they can, probably lying. I don't think so. Oh, I don't know. You can speculate. You can always speculate. But, you know, technical analysis only works until it doesn't. All roads, though, will lead to money printing and monetary debasement. That is for sure. In the next few months. And I've shared that before, right? Everything leads to that money printer. It has to. The Fed will step in. Chinese getting ready to stimulate, like I mentioned. Other central banks will also follow suit. Sure, you can sell your Bitcoin, but remember what you were getting in return. An asset being debased, right? Why would you want fiat currency? A lot of printing will happen. And Bitcoin's the best hedge against inflation. Before I talk about wolves, I want to talk about M2 money supply. Bitcoin continues to follow global M2 like glue. I did show this chart practically every day by now. The drop happened. Look at that. It just happened. And the recovery too. So this further confirms my point, right? We'll stay flat, right? Probably going to stay, sure, maybe 80, 81,000 maximum. Anything can change, keep in mind. But we will continue to see another drop. This is looking like April 9. Or maybe even like the end of this week, right? Thursday or Friday, because of the economic data that we're getting, that could cause maybe a drop. I think it will, because honestly, these numbers of what we're expecting in the economic data, like we're expecting one thing for inflation right over here. We're expecting inflation to drop here, core inflation rate. And then for producer price index, that's expected to rise, right? So other prices will rise. No, I think that correlates. That correlates. Yeah. Inflation rises, price rises. That's what we're expecting. And ultimately that gets reflected onto the customers. I think we're getting consumer price index probably next week after that. I haven't checked. Friday, Monday, Tuesday we're getting, that's Canada inflation rate, retail sales, building permits, housing starts, and nothing else. Okay, no, never mind. It looks like next week will be more calm. You'll see that calmness right over here. Something is going to make the market pump a little bit. This is looking like, what is this, 80, 82, 83 for Bitcoin? Approximately. I'm looking at that like it's 84 probably. But who knows? This line is going to change. We're probably going to bounce off of this downtrend one more time. Right? Before right around over here. This coincides really nice, right? 80,000 points with the downtrend. We could break out of that line significantly because we would officially be breaking that ugly downtrend that we've had since our all-time high levels, and that could push us to skyrocket from there. The May blast off happening over here if we do follow the 108-day offset by the M2 money supply here. Everything points toward it. It's just so accurate, surprisingly. This company, Colossal Biosciences, they're getting extinct animals and bringing them back. When are they going to do this with dinosaurs is my question. The dire wolf is what they resurrected from extinction. It was lost to history over 10,000 years ago, and they have returned. Reborn on October 1st, remarkable pups were brought back to life using ancient DNA extracted from fossilized remains. This is so interesting, and I do want to see if they have a stock. Do you have a stock? Colossal Biosciences. Biosciences. Stock. Do they have a stock? They do have a stock. No, they don't. They don't have a public available stock. It's a private company. Okay, never mind. Never mind about that. But, yeah. It's interesting what they're doing. Also kind of scary. Like, are we supposed to be playing God here by bringing back these weird animals? To answer your question, Southwest Transport, on M2 chart, how is the future predicted? So what this means, right? The M2 chart, let's see. I want to explain this in a simple format, right? Let's just say the lines that I'm showing you there, they look like this, right? We're expecting rise, a little bit of a drop over here, stay flat for a moment, bit of a rise maybe to this line, decay until May 1st, right over here, we blast off and we go higher, right? So what this is doing here is that this blast off that we're seeing, it's basically the price of right now is this high point, right? Today's date, this is where the M2 money supply is. It's the amount of money that exists all over the world. We have a large amount of that. And the analysts have found this correlation where if you push the price forward 108 days, it kind of matches what Bitcoin's chart looks like. So what they're explaining is basically this, right? This is what the M2 money supply is like right now, for example. Obviously at a different scale, right? It's not 94,000. It's like, I don't remember, like 300 trillion, 600 trillion, something like that. The whole money in the world. But what they're doing is if you push the M2 money supply chart forward like this, 108 days, let's just pretend that was 108 days, it's accurately matched the movement of Bitcoin's price in the past, right? 80% correlation. So we've been analyzing that since over here. That's when I brought it up on the channel here on my streams. It accurately predicted this drop. It accurately predicted this mini rally that fails during the month of like March, end of April. It accurately predicted this drop, the Black Monday drop that we sort of had, the rise that we're currently having. And if this pattern continues, whether or not it's like 100% accurate, you'll do see it deviates a couple times. It deviates off of it, so it's not perfect, but it's got an 80% accuracy, right? So it's really, it's a good idea to, like, you know, have that in the back of your mind. And all things are pointing to, you know, by May 1st, we could see the blast off. What's happening in May that could cause this blast off, right? The price to skyrocket. It's likely going to be those rate cuts, right? In 1 month, we're getting that. If we do get a rate cut, I don't know. It's all speculation. I mean, it could be a completely different thing. It could be, I don't know, a tariff announcement. No more tariff announcements, maybe. There's also people betting on Polymarket that by July, Trump will cancel all the tariffs, and that's got a high percentage in there too. So yeah, that's all it really is. It's all speculation though. So yeah. I did want to talk about a little bit about Sui, which had an impressive rise of 7% today. I'm loving Sui right now. I didn't get to buy it down here. I was able to on a different exchange, but I don't pay too much attention on that. It's not on BingX anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And I also got liquidated on that other exchange with Sui. It dropped to 193. That was a liquidation price for me. So unfortunately lost there, but still was able to buy the dips again. And it's on its way back up. It's the coin that has the largest increase right now at 7%. At the worst day when it dropped over here, it had as bad as a drop as Ethereum, which is something that doesn't move as much, which is just, it just goes to show you the state of Ethereum. It's just been dropping like constantly. Yeah. And yeah, bailouts of hedge funds, that could also definitely spark rise. Cool. So this downtrend's broken for now though. I'm liking the V-shaped recovery so far. Bitcoin's 80,300. There we go. Yeah, so that's all the news I had for today. I will keep track of everything. We'll see what China responds. Hopefully they wake up and realize why battle over tariffs with the United States. Just stop releasing fentanyl and yeah, maybe everybody will live in harmony again. Cool. That's all for today then. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something new. And I won't be on tomorrow. So I lied. I'm sorry. I forgot. Tomorrow I can't. Tuesday evenings I can't. But Wednesday I will. And by then we'll know for sure the responses of China and of the United States if they do that retaliated tariff against China. You know what I'm talking about. All right, cool. Thanks guys. Take